This is a Crisscross Picks production. In the lightweight division at UFC Vegas 77, you got Nazim, Sadykhov taking on Terrance, McKinney. This is going to be a great fight in a great division. Nazim 8-1, McKinney 13-5. Both guys stand 5'10". They're both in their late 20s. Long career ahead, hopefully for both. Now McKinney, 5-inch reach advantage, 74-69. He's a switch stance fighter. Sadykhov stands southpaw, left-handed. 5.2 significant strikes for him. McKinney, 3.8. So that's going to be a difference about anywhere from 10 to 15 in this fight. Now McKinney does have an advantage on the takedown game, landing one takedown per round on average in several UFC fights so far. But Sadykhov beat Evan Elder by KO, third round. At the Contender Series, he won also by third round KO. So a really good fighter. Now McKinney, on the other hand, 83% takedown defense. He was riding high really in the UFC. I mean, he lost to Drew Dober, but he won 3 of 4 going into that one. Or the previous 2 going into that one, he's won 3 and 4 heading into the Ismail Bonfim fight. His last fight, he got KO'd in round 2. So he's been KO'd twice. That's a problem for him. That's also why he's the underdog in this fight. And this is a tricky one for me because I like Terrance McKinney. But I do believe Nazim wins this fight. I hate to say that, but I got to go with Nazim. I think he's going to defend the takedowns, 80% takedown defense. He's a pretty good striker on the feet, high activity, over about 16 significant strikes per round. Probably will be closer to 20 in this fight, maybe 25, and eventually could get the finish. But I think Nazim wins to move to 9-1. If I'm wrong, I'll eat this one because I do like Terrance McKinney. This fight goes down in a lightweight division at UFC Vegas 77. In the lightweight division at UFC Vegas 77, one of the best divisions, if not the best, in the UFC. Ottman Azaitar, 13-1, takes on Francisco Prado, 11-1. Do you see what I'm talking about? Prado, 2 inches taller at 5'10". He's only 21. Ottman, 33. Ottman's got a 2-inch reach advantage. He can switch stances on his opponent. Prado fights right-handed. Now, Azaitar so far, nearly 7 significant strikes per minute. Just 2 per minute, or just shy of 2 per minute for Prado. No takedowns really to speak of for either guy, at least at this point. Now the bulldozer, a.k.a. Ottman Azaitar, 100% takedown defense to boot. He did lose to Matt Frivola. He was 13-0 coming in. Got KO'd in the first. It's not good. But he beat Kama Worthy, and he won at UFC 242 in his UFC debut against Teemu Packalén. Now, on the other hand, Prado came into the UFC with a nice 11-0 record, so they're very similar in that sense, but lost to Jamie Mullarkey by decision, getting dominated 59-28, significant strikes, 3-0 on takedowns. He lost that fight, and he is the favorite here. That's surprising, but I'm going to go with Ottman Azaitar to win this fight. I like the striking ability, the switch stance. He's got a couple more fights in the UFC. Now, Prado will be hungry. Can't afford to lose to go 0-2 in the UFC in your first 2, but the lightweight division is a gauntlet, and Ottman's just another guy that's trying to work his way up, and I think he will over time. Don't know if he'll ever get to the top, but I could see him being like 20-3 at some point in time, going 7-2 in the next 9 fights. But I think he definitely wins this one to move to 14-1 on significant strikes and takedown defense. Lightweight division, UFC Vegas 77. In the women's featherweight division at UFC Vegas 77, you got Norma Dumont taking on Chelsea Chandler, who's got 1 fight in the UFC so far, which she beat. She won. So let's get into it. Dumont 9-2, Chandler 5-1. Chandler's 1 inch taller at 5'8". She's got a 1-inch reach advantage. Chandler fights southpaw, left-handed, where Dumont is a right-hander. Chandler in just 1 UFC fight, nearly 9 significant strikes per minute. Not bad, but that'll come down. Dumont, a lot better competition by far. 3.5 significant strikes per minute. That's not bad, and lands a takedown over the course of 3 rounds. And that's not bad either against good competition. 72% takedown defense. That's not bad either. She beat Carol Rosa and Danielle Wolf. Okay. Lost to Macy Chiasson. Split decision. Not a bad loss, but gave up 6 takedowns. Beat Aspen Ladd and Felicia Spencer. So she's 5-1 in the UFC. Just a setback against Chiasson by split decision very easily. Could be undefeated in the UFC very easily. Now, Chandler, as I said, She did have a 66% takedown defense. She gave up 1 of the 3 attempts from Julija Stoliarenko, but beat her by first round KO. So she's for real. And man, this is a tough fight, but I got to stick with Norma Dumont here just because of the competition level. Now, it should be noted that Chelsea Chandler lost her first fight and has basically won ever since. So she had the one setback, I think it was in 2018 or 2019. That's been 4 or 5 years ago. So one setback, she's on a roll now. So this is going to be a much closer fight than people think, but I think Dumont will pull it out just on sheer whatever is the best way to possibly win the fight. Hard to say, really. Could be takedowns, could be striking. She's going to feel the way through the first round and get the job done in the second and third for sure. Could be 30-27, could be 29-28. But Dumont wins to move to 10-2, women's featherweight division, UFC Vegas 77. In the heavyweight division at UFC Vegas 77, you got Walt Harris coming in at 13-10, taking on Josh Parisian, who comes in at 15-6. Walt Harris, a 2-1 favorite. Let's get into it. He's 1 inch taller at 6'5". These are big boys. He's getting up there in age. He's 40 years old. I didn't realize that. Parisian, 34. Walt Harris giving up 2 inches in reach, 79-77. He's a southpaw, fights left-handed. Parisian fights right-handed. Now, Walt Harris just 3.1 significant strikes per minute. Not great. Parisian, 4.5. So you're looking at about a 10 to 20 significant strike advantage for Parisian should this fight go the distance. Takedown game leans to Parisian. 1 takedown over the course of 3 rounds. Walt Harris, not so much. He wants to keep the fight standing. The big ticket, a.k.a. Walt Harris, 70% takedown defense. But he's lost 3 in a row to Marcin Tybura, KO. Volkov, KO. Alistair Overeem, KO. His last win was against Alexei Oleinik in 2019. Hard to believe he's the favorite. But Parisian, on the other hand, 48% takedown defense. That could be problematic. He lost to Jamal Pogues by decision, beat Alan Baldo by KO, and Dante Mays beat him by KO. So he's 1-2 in the last 3. So interesting fight here. Someone's in trouble if they lose. Walt Harris, I believe, will win this fight. His back is against the wall. Yes, he's getting up there in age, but he still has the power to get the job done. I think he'll overcome the numbers here. He's fought some good fighters over the last 3 fights. So this is going to be a step down for him. Although Parisian is a big boy, has a lot of power, but he's got weak takedown defense, and I think Harris will exploit that and utilize the ground and pound if it does go that far. Walt Harris will win. He'll minimize the significant strikes from Parisian, keep that very close, but we'll get 5 to 6 minutes of control time to win this fight and move to 14-10 heavyweight division. UFC Vegas 77. In the middleweight division at UFC Vegas 77, co-main event, you got Albert Duraev coming in at 16-4, taking on Yong Park, who comes in at 16-5. So 2 guys with similar records. Park is a slight favorite coming in. Now Duraev 1 inch taller. Both guys still in their prime, 34 years old for Duraev, 32 for Park. Duraev has a 2 inch reach advantage. Both guys stand right-handed. Yong Park, reason why he's the favorite, slightly, is because he's more active. 4.9 significant strikes per minute to just 2.9 for Duraev. Takedown game still leans to Park. Both guys slightly over 2 takedowns over the course of 3 rounds. So takedown defense will be everything. Duraev 50%, Park 70%. So Park has the advantage in all areas, even if it's just slightly. Now Duraev coming off the win over Chidi and Njokuani by split decision. He got KO'd by Joaquin Buckley and beat Roman Kopylov. Over his last 3 fights, he's 2-1. Now Yong Park, the Iron Turtle, coming off 3 straight wins over Dennis Tulian by submission, Joseph Holmes submission, and Eric Anders by split decision. So I think Duraev is better than Eric Anders, and this is going to be a very, very close fight, but I'm going to lean with the numbers in this fight because they're significant. I mean, Park's going to land 2 more significant strikes per minute. That's about 30 over the course of the fight. He defends the takedowns better. He's likely to try to defend the takedowns and keep this fight standing, and that will be the big question mark. Park may lose a round on control time, but he's going to win the other 2 in the stand-up to get the victory to move to 17-5, in my opinion, middleweight division, UFC Vegas 77. In the women's bantamweight division at UFC Vegas 77, this is your main event. Holly Holm, top-rate contender still in the bantamweight division, comes in at 15-6. Mayra Bueno Silva is the opponent. She comes in at 10-2. Now, Holly Holm is 2 inches taller at 5'8". She's getting up there in age. She's 41 years old. Bueno Silva, 31. Now, Holly Holm has a 2-inch reach advantage. She fights left-handed. Bueno Silva fights right-handed. Holly Holm, 3.2 significant strikes per minute, but Bueno Silva is more active, 4.2 significant strikes per minute. Holly Holm lands like a takedown every 3 rounds. Bueno Silva, hardly anything to discuss there. Now, Holly Holm, 78% takedown defense, so the preacher's daughter will defend pretty much all takedowns in this fight, you would believe. Coming off the win over Yana Santos by decision after losing to Ketlin Vera by split decision. Very close fight there. Could have easily won that. Before that, beat Irene Aldana and Rockwell Pennington. So she's won 3 of the last 4 and remains at the top. Now, Bueno Silva, 67% takedown defense. She's likely to give up a takedown or 2. Coming off 3 straight wins over Lena Landsberg, submission. Stephanie Agar, submission. And Wu Yanan, decision. So, should this fight go to the ground, Mayra Bueno Silva is certainly capable. But here's the deal. I'm not going against Holly Holm. With Amanda Nunes gone, retired, Holly Holm is in prime position to recapture the belt. She just needs the right opponent. She's got to win this fight, and then she'll look upward. UFC may even give her an opportunity to fight for the vacant belt. Now, Holly Holm will win this fight easily. Forget the numbers here. A lot of times we stick to the numbers in these main event, especially in the main card, because these fighters have a lot of fights, and those averages are pretty solid. But Holly Holm will overcome the numbers here and will dominate this fight. Likely standing up, she'll be more active. She'll move to 16-6. Bueno Silva will fall to 10-3. Women's bantamweight division, UFC Vegas 77.